Welcome, Christian Metal Group. I am Jimmy Sarles, and we have Jay Goodwin here. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's up, man? All is well. And
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking with Morten and Jonas and Maurice, who are in the band Out the Mountain. And Maurice has quite a few side projects that we're going to get into. So how are y'all guys doing today?
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Fine,
Thanks.
thanks.
Nice. Well, so we're going to do two quick questions, and we'll
Right.
start with Morten, and then Jonas, and then Maurice can answer. So Morten, did you grow up in a religious home? And also tell us where you're located.
Yeah, I did grow up in a Christian family. Went out going to, so here we have the state church. I'm in Denmark, located in Aarhus. It's not Copenhagen, it's the second biggest city. So, decent city. I'm in the city center here in our apartment. And so I grew up on the West Coast. It's just a few hours out in what we normally in Denmark call the Bible Belt over here. So we have that as well.
Oh, yeah, that's where
So-
we're at here.
Yeah, so in a more conservative state church home, been
Mhm.
taken to like a very traditional church with, sitting on the benches, listen to the organ and stuff. So that's how I grew up. Yeah, in the 80s, 90s.
Nice. Very nice. All right. And Jonas?
Yeah. So my name is Jonas. I'm based in Kenya, in Africa. So that's where I'm sitting right now. Moved here about 12 years ago. But I grew up in a Christian home in Denmark, Christian family. I actually grew up playing worship together with my dad in church as a drummer. He was a guitarist, and we played together in church there for many years as a teenager. And my mom, she was a singer. Her and her sister, they actually released some tape records and some old things back in the days before I was born. But those were kind of the things. They were too extreme for the church back then. So there were the things that are handed over under the desk at the church and the music events and stuff like that. So she also kind of understood what it is to be playing extreme music, but in a Christian setting. So I remember when I started having an interest in more extreme music and more energetic music. My mom actually came and she sat me down and she said, "Look, this is fine. It's okay." And she knew I had a job. I was delivering newspapers and stuff. She was like, "You can spend your own money on whatever you want to spend them on. But if you can find a Christian record instead of a secular record, I will pay for it. It doesn't matter where in the world it's coming from. I will
Nice.
import it for you and I will pay for it." Okay. So I started searching all over the internet back then when I was a teenager for records, Christian records. My mom paid for all of them, and
That's
That's
so
a
that was
good
back in the
deal.
days of the early Number Gene and all these kind of things. So the early POD, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so definitely grew up in a Christian home, but they were very. My parents were very supportive of this kind of genre. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Benjamin Gate from South Africa?
For which one, sorry?
The Benjamin Gate?
Benjamin? No.
Oh, they were
No.
like a rock band, female fronted. I booked them one time here locally. Yeah. You have to check them out, man. They're a great band. The lead singer
they
actually married Jeremy Camp.
I did some tours with Skylit City and some other guys from South Africa. Even
nice.
actually one of the guys, Tyron, that we've been using as one of our resources in At the Mountain is from South Africa. So yeah, great people from South Africa as well in this genre. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right, Maurice.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in the Netherlands, a Dutch guy, to say so. And actually, my love for the heavier kinds of music started already when I was at elementary school. So at age, what would it be, 12, I guess. And that was in the beginning of the 80s. And I was raised in a Christian family. I was raised in a Pentecostal church, but I went my own way until I was 18. And then I made my own decision and got saved. So up to my 18th birthday, or when I was 18, I went my own way and discovered a new wave of British heavy metal and Bay Area thrash metal, and that's the two main influence for who I am today as a musician. And I think, from a musical point of view, it's a blessing because I like both melody as well as very riff oriented music. And that's, I think, not per se common. Usually you see very riff focused music or very melodic, but I like both. And during that time, my best friend actually, he was a Satanist of all friends you can choose
Wow.
for. And he was really my
Whoa.
best friend. And even before I got saved, I was, of course, familiar with Striper. And he actually liked Striper. And we had
Wow.
respect for each other, even though we were very different, but we were really close friends. And he actually he started one of the first Dutch death metal bands back in the day, and they were very anti-Christian, actually.
Wow.
And after I got saved, I got involved in church, and also we went in a different direction uh, um, in our education. So we didn't see each other that much anymore. So up to today, I sometimes I wonder why did I go through those years? Why? I mean, he was very. He could easily end up in a fight with people, but he was never violent towards me. I don't know. We were very respectful to each other. So, but I think uh, uh, up to today, I think I learned lessons from that period. So, yeah. So, as for my 18th, I was involved in church and I started playing drums and later on guitars, or the other way around. But in the church, I mainly play drums because, yeah, distortion guitars are not very suitable in the church services.
Right. Nice.
So, yeah.
So, did you all grow up in a musical home? I know some of this has been answered already, but as far as you have family members that play music.
Yeah, my mom was a piano teacher, so I had to learn the piano from like very early on, and my brother was a trumpet teacher. So so I can't remember not playing the trumpet. I think I started playing the trumpet when I was like 5, maybe.
So you didn't join any ska bands?
No, unfortunately, I was forced to play in this Christian brass band. Yeah,
Forced.
yeah, totally. Like, so I did that for 20 years, and I think that definitely helped shape my um my sense of, I would say, harmonies, melodies, because I was playing like the second trumpet, so I would always be like, a few notes over and or below the main melody line, doing like harmonies like all night long.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, I have like 4 siblings. They all play instruments and play music. So definitely grew up in a music family and a music teaching family. You can say.
Well, you playing
Very
any
nice.
trumpet on your records? Like on?
Yeah, I do quite a lot of trumpet
Yeah.
actually on
Okay.
also on the live shows. We bring the trumpet out, and it's a lot. We have a lot of fun with it. It's so on some of the bigger melodic build-up parts, we'll try and fill the stage with smoke, and you have this like gold trumpet blasting. And of course, there's so much Bible imagery around the trumpet and the heralds and the blasts and that kind of stuff. But so far we've been using it more like a key type, more slow thing. But who knows? Maybe we should do like some trumpet calls.
That would be dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even for me, I mean, my family has always been a musical family. Like on my dad's side, they are all like organ players in the churches. They went to Danes. We have the musikkonservatoriet. It's like you get a degree in music and you can study instruments, and they all studied organs, how to play the organs. The big ones, like you see, like in the big cathedrals with the big pipes and everything. And my granddad was
Absolutely.
actually he was one of the main architects behind them in Denmark. So there are even books that were put out. Like when I went to college, so in Danish it's called gymnasium, but it's kind of like high school or college equivalent. But my music teacher there, he actually pulled me aside after one day, and I thought I was in trouble. But he pulled me over and said, like, is your dad Mogens Brunsnes? I said, no, it's not my dad. That's my granddad. He said, oh, okay, you just saw the last name. It's like, I have, all his books and all the works.
Well,
He
that's
has
so
a whole
cool.
dictionary of all the organs he built in all the churches across Europe, because he was one of the big designers and engineers of building organs in churches. So yeah, so I came out of a long history, family line history, and I mean, even what he left me in his will after he died were 3 pipes that he had hand carved, for the organ.
Oh, that's
So
super cool.
that's what I was left with.
Well,
Uh,
that's pretty unique.
So that was kind of his note to saying, remember your heritage, you're coming out of music history.
We should use them in a song, like you can blow into the microphone.
See,
Yeah.
there we go. We're creating a song right
Awesome.
here.
So yeah, so I mean, even my grandmoms, I remember every time we were visiting them, she'd be sitting every morning, because every time they had to do a maintenance of the organs in the churches, there would be, they had to sit and hand carve and tune the pipes, every single pipe, and it was done by hand. That was her job, to sit and do that. So, and my dad, he got really fed up with the classical kind of music, so like the piano and the organs. So he was the rebel in the family. So his sister went the classical way, my dad went the rock way. Moved away from home, went all punk and grunge and Nirvana and all that kind of stuff, and introduced me to the same. And now it's just nice to see it all coming back together again in at the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Everything
really
comes
cool.
back around full circle.
Absolutely. That's interesting. So my first instrument was definitely piano also, and quickly moved to like pipe organ. I played both pipe organs, and then there's also like a compact version called Rogers. And yeah, the Rogers organs, they have like, it's just an electronic pipe organ basically. So yeah, I'm very familiar with those things.
Nice.
Well, I grew up in a home without instruments, to say so. But I learned when I was older that my father actually could play piano very well. When my grandmother passed away, we got her piano and they put it in our living room. And I think, I can remember, I think I was 10 or 12 years. I was like, what is it doing here? Nobody of us can play it. And then my father sat behind it and he played it. I was amazed. I didn't know he could play. And then I learned from my family that they used to play a lot also in church when he was younger, but he never told us. So I don't know why. Up to today, I don't know why he didn't do it anymore. But nowadays, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's somehow in my blood. When I look to my children, they like playing music as well. So it must come from somewhere. But my mother always played the radio. So even though I didn't like popular music at all, I just listened to metal music back then. I still know the songs from the 80s because my mother had the radio on the whole day.
Wow.
So
That's awesome, man.
that's just my history with music and my family. Not that exciting.
Well, Maurice, go ahead and tell us about your other bands. You're involved in like 23 bands or something, right? So you don't have
Well,
time to you don't work a job or anything. You just do music all day, every day.
I wish. I wish. No,
I
I do that at nighttime. I don't sleep. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Give us a
no,
rundown of each band and the style of music and everything about those bands.
yeah. I'll keep it briefly. But the thing is, I think because that's something I really would like to share with you. Um, I know that sometimes people get kind of confused with me because they expect me to play some kind of style, whereas the styles of those bands are different. And would like to share that for me, a very important period was the time I was in the church worship team, because then all different musicians with different backgrounds, different styles, they play together, and that opened my mind for different rhythms, different styles. And I think uh, these days I get benefit from it. So that's why relatively easy can dive into a different direction than I'm used to being. Of course, there are limits. Some styles I really don't like, and if I don't like something, it's not even worth looking at. So, but okay, yeah. So one of the bands is Grave Decay. This is the style. We call it symphonic death metal,
Yeah.
and it had a lot of orchestras in it, violins, trumpets, harps.
And which
It,
band is this now?
this is Grave Decay.
Grave Decay.
And
Okay.
yes, and that's something that has everything I like all in one band. I like film score music, but not the boring ones, but the ones that you know of. Uh, um, yeah, well, like epic
Star
movie.
Wars, maybe.
Yeah, well, not really Star Wars. I would rather say something like Braveheart. Those kind of music
Okay.
movies. That's what I like. You know, medieval kind of
Okay.
All right, yeah.
symphonic. So we put it in there, and I do that together with my friend Roger. He was the guitarist for Morphia. It was a doom metal band from the 90s, especially. I don't know if you're familiar with the band. They put out some albums, and together with him, we brought an album. We released an album in 2018. But what makes this project special for me is that I released a song last year about my late wife. Well, not really about her, but based on an autobiography she was writing. And that song has everything that's in me as a musician, as the story behind it is all a part of my life. So that's one of the most important things I ever did. The
That's
song is
awesome.
called The Heroine.
The
So you
Heroine
can,
by Grave Decay. So you really put a lot of thought and emotion and everything into that. That's
Yeah,
yes,
so
amazing.
that song is so good. You
Yeah.
gotta hear that.
Yes, I definitely want to check that out. You
Absolutely.
share that with us after we're done. That's awesome.
yeah, I will. Thanks. So that was Grave Decay. Then there is Receiving Immortality. That's one of the bands I joined the most recently. I think it's 1.5 years. And it's actually a quite new band. And they are more into death metal combined with gent influences and also on the progressive side. So a lot of time changes in the music. And whereas I'm used to play by hearing songs and just play by ear, I can't do it with those songs. I need
Uh,
to.
so this
Um,
band is based out of the Netherlands where you live.
yes, yes.
So
We are all scattered around the Netherlands, so everyone is living in a different part.
but you're breaking the stereotype that all bands from the Netherlands are black metal, right?
Why is that?
I I don't know. All we know here is that bands from the Netherlands are black metal and they burn churches. We don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Hmm. I
We
think I need to do some research then.
yeah
But
yeah
most probably, I can imagine because of Slechtvalk, maybe
yeah.
people have
That's a
that
big yeah.
feeling. Slechtvalk is
Here in Denmark, we think about it as Norway, with the real extreme black metal guys, because they had like quite a lot of church burnings and stuff
Yeah, a lot of
in
stuff.
in
I can't
Norway.
wait to come over to any of those areas and see some of those churches.
They're gone. They're burnt.
Now, just a few. I think they burned like 3 or 4 or 5 or something. But there's still hundreds left. There's old wooden churches that could burn, but yeah, that made a lot of headlines whenever they did that. So it
Yeah,
didn't happen many times. It just happened a few times, of course, because these are ancient buildings that are very, very protected by the state and stuff.
I think they rebuilt one of those churches
Yeah,
that
they
was
did.
burned.
They
Yeah.
sure did.
But it's
They should.
Netherlands, Norway. Maybe there's a mix-up somewhere there, and that
Yeah,
Norway
who knows?
definitely
You know.
black metal oriented. Yes. So yeah, so that's it's not black metal. That's completely different. Um, and then I started last year a project called Medal of Honor, and this
Yes.
goes back to when I was young. You have to understand. Once I got saved, this is a personal thing. When we were singing songs in church, I was already hearing guitars into the song. Like, it's missing there. What always appealed to me in metal music was the dynamics. You could have very emotional ballads, but also very loud, fast, heavy parts in a song. And I think that covers also a human life. A human life is not just a ballad or just heavy, fast pacing. It has dynamics. So I would like to hear that in songs as well. So from back then, I was already like, oh, I want to enhance those songs, to say so, to metalize them without destroying it. Because nowadays there are a lot of metal worship songs, but I
Right.
have to say I don't like them all because they are in some way destroying the song by
Yes.
making it impossible to sing along. And I think if you have a worship song, no matter whether it's metal or whatever style, the purpose is not just for the listener to listen to it, but also to participate in singing the song.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's
for sure.
one of the things that I kept in mind with Medal of Honor. Therefore, the song is way more simplistic compared to Grave Decay. So no different time changes or different difficult structures that makes it impossible to sing along. Because I wanted that if someone puts on the song, like the music, gets inspired and sings along. So that's a very important aspect of this project. And so far, I was only able to release one song because the idea was to make more songs, but have a guest vocalist on every song. And for this song, I had the honor to have Michael Drive from
Yeah.
Barrowcross or Human Code
Yes.
singing this song. And that was really, really cool. I just sent him a message and I sent him the song without vocals. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
let's have a video call. So we talked for about an hour. And man, he's such a great guy, not just as
Yeah.
a vocalist, but also as a person. And it really clicked really well. So we sent tracks forth and back. And well, that
That's
was the
really
song.
cool. I got to see him with both of those bands this year at Immortal Fest. It was pretty amazing. He is a very good front man. Like he's very like into the crowd and he's still got a good voice. That was amazing. Yeah, I was going to ask you what it was like working with him. That's really awesome. So so this is going to be Medal of Honor is going to be kind of like Liberty and Justice. If you're familiar with that band, that was like in the 90s and 2000s. I don't know how many albums they released, probably 4 or 5, but they had songs like that with a different singer, but they had secular singers too, but all the lyrics were faith
Ah,
based.
yeah.
So they would just hire people to sing, to do the songs. So everybody from the Scorpions to somebody like Michael Drive. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that
interesting.
is really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like those kind of projects. And well, the thing is you have to connect with the singers and see if there's a click, if they like the key the song is in, if they like the style. To give an example, Michael wasn't really into the fast double bass stuff, for instance. We had some difference about that approach, but it wasn't impossible. I mean, he gave some really good ideas and tips. So I went along with some of them, but I also held back on others because I was like, nah, I like the double bass on that part. So I left it in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I
really
like it
nice.
too. Don't worry.
Sorry?
I like the double bass too.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, I think it came out really well. and I'm happy with the result. So,
Yeah,
and
me too.
well, and then we ended up with the project on the intense worship label, and that's how I got in contact with Jonas and Morten, because they had their own worship metal project, and that triggered some strings inside me, as you can understand.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
you know
awesome.
what? There's a the song Yahweh will manifest himself. The version that I found is the symphonic metal version. So are there other versions of the song also?
Well, actually, it's a cover. That's a good question.
Okay.
Um, there is, I think the original came from a church in South America, and the song is very popular in churches here in the Netherlands,
Hmm.
and they are all similar. I mean, if you play a song written by a Christian artist, you play it in your own interpretation, to say
Right,
so,
right.
but similar. And I think when you look at from that point of view, the version from Medal of Honor is completely different. It was rewritten, and some chords have changed. There's a lot of changes, but the song structure and the melody are kept the same. So it's if you want to sing along, it's the same.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. So yeah, so I guess with that, um, we can focus on At the Mountain and see what's going on with that project. How did it come about? I know you all talking about just meeting in, from sanctuary and all that stuff, but what made you all think, hey, we're gonna do this type of style of music and we're gonna put out music, that kind of stuff.
I could maybe elaborate on that. So I was traveling uh, down to South Africa and then had a stop in Kenya on the way home where Jonas lives. And Jonas has been a really good friend for many, many years. Before he moved to Kenya, we had a more like a metalcore band here in Denmark. So we knew each other really well. We were really good friends, but of course we didn't see often because it's a 12-hour travel by flight to go to Kenya from Denmark. So we were very far apart.
Actually,
But
actually, I think there's a break of almost 10 years we did not see each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah. I was at the wedding, and then and then it was a really long
So,
time, and
say music
then
bringing everybody together.
yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So my wife and our 9-year-old kid Max and myself, we went to South Africa, and then we took a stop in Kenya on the way back and visited Jonas and his family. And Jonas told me, oh, we had a few weeks there. He told me there's this guy from Illinois who just moved to Kenya. So this metal dude, it's like, oh, what, man? There's an American Christian who plays metal who just moved to Kenya. Like, what? So we decided to find a driver and go down and visit him. So he was down on the border to Tanzania with a beautiful view of Mount Kilimanjaro. So it's like, was it like 4 or 5 hour drive across Kenya? So we drove down there, and
More.
that's
It's
where we met Terry.
close to 6 hours getting down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we drove down there, and that's Terry. He's the bass player in At the Mountain, and we just jammed out for a few days, and then obviously we couldn't play together because I'm all the way up in Denmark, and they don't even live close in Kenya. So we didn't think much more of it. We just said see ya, and that was a good time. And then I flew back to Denmark, and the Lord just started prompting me with different YouTube videos and thoughts and Bible verses and stuff happening. I could just feel it really working on the inside of me. Like I always had this or we can say eager to one day do like really hard worship. I always felt like worship should be hard music, it's just turn it up. Like yeah, so that was always what I wanted to do, but I never could get anybody in our local church to do it with me. So once I met these guys, it just started stirring, and so we talked about it forth and back quite a lot. And I think a few weeks later I booked a ticket back, so I flew all the way back without my wife and kid this time, and we took a full week, and we drove back down to Terry, and we all felt like we should do this, and this was the Lord calling on this in all of us. And then we had a full week of writing music, and we wrote the raw sketches for a full album that we've we're still working on. It's coming out in January, hopefully, and the few songs are out on Spotify already. But that's really how it came to be. So it's really the most unlikely, the most, you can say, stupid and craziest idea to do like a metal worship band across 3 continents, because then we had a guitar player who lived back in Illinois, and obviously Jonas and Terry lives in Kenya, and I live up in Denmark, so we're like very, very far apart on 3 different continents. And
Well, I think that's a testament to God being involved in it to make it even work out, right?
yeah,
That's
and
pretty
it turned out, like, when you have a full week together, when you all travel down to Kenya, we're down on Terry's compound down there. When you carve out a full week just to work on it, it's very different from going every Wednesday, in the rehearsal room for a few hours. Then it can take years to craft out a record. When we go out there for a week and we feel inspired and spirit-filled, it's just like so much happens every time we meet. So we've been down there for a few weeks now at the time, and I'm going down there again in November. We're gonna track bass and stuff for the record. Yeah, so
You just had to wait on God to introduce you to somebody who doesn't play the organ.
yeah.
So you did you just reach out to Maurice and say, "Hey, you're already in 15 bands. What's one more?" How did that work out?
pretty close.
That's actually pretty accurate. No,
I've been doing this a while.
Yeah, there's this excellent guitar player who can do like all these styles. Let's reach out to him, man, because he's awesome. Yeah.
But what actually happened was, we were doing these, because we started this, at the Mountain project, and we were on these podcasts, and we started going on some of the podcasts with Bob, and then Maurice was commenting on some of them, and I would follow every Wednesday live, these live podcasts every Wednesday, so I sit and watch them and comment and be part of the community, and then I saw Maurice. I'd never met him before. I had no idea who he was. I didn't know anything about any of the other bands, but I just felt God was saying, call him. I was like, all right, fine. I picked up the phone and I called him afterwards.
Well, you don't know.
Yeah, the rest is history. Yeah. Actually, I called you and we had a really great talk. And then I called you 2 more times and then you said, I don't want these abrupt calls. Can we please schedule?
I didn't even know you could have a video call with Messenger. So I was surprised. I thought someone is calling me, and I picked up the phone, and then all of a sudden I saw Jonas's face on my phone. I was like, "What?"
Well, Maurice, welcome to the 21st century.
Yeah. Jonas is on African time, He'll call you whenever.
At that time, it was not with the intention of having Maurice a part of the band. I just felt God said, call him. And we just talked music, shared life, and the different circumstances we were in our lives and things like that. And it was actually not until we had done our first tour At the Mountain, and now we had to do a second tour, where the second half of the tour, actually, so the second leg in Denmark. And unfortunately, our guitarist, who at that time was now moving from the US back to Denmark, was unable to join. So that's where we were like, what do we do? We're like, let's call Maurice.
So how were you aware of Maurice? Was it Grave Declaration, or because I've seen them posted a lot and they get a lot of love in our Facebook group.
Yes,
how was it that you originally heard about them or about him? You don't remember?
I had never heard about him before. Actually, I had never heard any of his songs before.
Wow.
It was just a few comments in to whatever Pastor Bob, it was Pastor Bob's weekly live podcast, and Maurice was posting there, and I just felt God told me call Maurice. I was like, okay.
So what is the band's connection to Sanctuary International?
That's an interesting one. So I used to be together with our guitarist Andreas Larsen. Mm-hmm. We founded Sanctuary Denmark. And we were the organizers of the Greenlight District Festival. That was part of that community back then, before he moved to the US. Andreas worked a lot with Pastor Bob and Sanctuary International. And even when, so my parents, they got divorced, and Bob was a big support there. He even went to the US and did some counseling there and met up with my dad over there. So he helped us reconcile and things like this. So I've always had a close connection to Sanctuary. So when Morten and I started, having this whole idea together with Terry about At the Mountain, I kept saying I feel Sanctuary somehow has a role to play. I don't know what it is, but it has a role to play. And I made that very clear from the beginning that I feel it has a role to play, but I don't know what it is. So we just kept it there, and so I just started engaging with Bob again. I started participating in the podcasts, and that's where Mouse suddenly showed up in one of the comments, and it was just so it just felt really good. And Mouse, you have also had a history with Sanctuary, and Morten, you had as well. You also went to stay with Bob, and so it just
really
kind
cool.
of felt like a good common ground and platform.
Yeah, Bob
And to
somehow always
expand
was
from that-
very invested with the Northern European Christian metal crowd and the festivals here, and a lot of us have gone to visit Bob, especially in Nashville. And to me, Bob has this mentoring role. Whenever there was like big questions coming up in my life, I would sometimes call him for advice. And
Sure.
so obviously we shared with him what's going on with music wise, and he showed very big interest in it, and he felt at the same time the Lord calling him into, or Sanctuary into, lead with worship, as he says. So he just saw this as a good fit into that vision, I'd say. And so he got very excited about it. So we sent him some songs and some raw sketches, and he said well, let's do like a Sanctuary based record label, because Sanctuary had Intense Records, so we've came up with Intense Worship Records. That should be the name for it, and we used sort of the same font and the same logo type.
So that makes sense.
Yeah,
I love that.
And then of course we needed a Mouse's project, Medal of Honor, to be released there. So that's also how we got in contact early on, and convinced him to put it out there. And
that's very good. Well, he is how I found out about the band, and I started listening to it. I'm like, this is really good. So I'm honored to have y'all on. And I know he's been talking about, God's given him the vision of lead with worship for quite a while, and that there's a, that's something that's really gonna revolutionize the music and the Christians and everything. Revival with lead with worship. So I'm excited to see what God has in store for all of that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's really strong, to lead with worship, because for a long time there's been this whole discussion: are you a Christian band? Are you Christians in a band?
We know that all too well.
And you see most of them, when they get on bigger labels and bigger things, they start diluting that value. So first they start as really strong Christian bands, and it dilutes over time. And we're like, hey, this is the wrong way. So instead of saying, are we a Christian band, or are we Christians in a, or are we a band with some secular and some Christian members? We said, no. Let's just take it to the whole extreme. We said, no, we are a worship band. We're here to worship God.
Yeah,
that's what we're here.
Yeah, then we don't need to discuss if we're a Christian worship band,
Right,
You get past that discussion, which I think is a stupid discussion anyway. It's like, instead of talking like, how far can we get away and still be a Christian act, whatever.
Oh, man.
It's like, no, how Christian can it be? How much can it be about God? And
you're
it
talking
just
about
fell
language.
way more right to us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, just much love to Pastor Bob, though, for sure. I know he's been such a staple in Christian metal since like the mid '80s, and
he was the first interview we did on here over 2 years ago. So that was awesome.
Awesome.
He's our pastor for the group, for sure. So he's the only person in the group that's allowed to post anything that's not, necessarily Christian or metal related. Like sometimes he'll have his podcast, but everybody else, we're censoring you if you aren't talking about
That's awesome.
like, for real. But Pastor Bob, man. I mean, but it's definitely, it's not even an argument that the scene would not be the same without him.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Same over here. And
Definitely. In Denmark, everything. I mean, I would actually not even be in Africa if it wasn't for him. I mean, when we did the Greenlight... No, to be honest, I mean, when we did the Greenlight District Festival, we were like, okay, so we were setting up in Denmark for the festival. We're standing in Andreas, our guitarist, his parents' home in the kitchen. We're praying, preparing for this, and Bob was there, and they started prophesying suddenly that somebody here from the Sanctuary Denmark movement will have to go to Africa. We're moving to Africa. And we're all like, yeah, fine. That's fine.
and that's a long time ago, Jonas. Well, was that like 15 years ago?
Yes, 15 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, fine. It's about 15 years ago. 15, 16 years ago, yeah. he prophesied that, Sanctuary Denmark team, no, Africa will be the focus. And he said it out loud in the kitchen, prophesied it over us, and we were all like talking about it afterwards, like, okay, he's an old crazy dude. I mean, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean,
Right.
we're setting up a Christian metal festival in Denmark. Who's talking about Africa? I mean, none of us are going to Africa. So he just kind of ignored it, and it only took about 3 to 4 years after that, and I found myself in Africa all of a sudden. Then I called him back and said, okay, I'm here. So yes, clearly, okay, that prophecy was for me, but now what? And he said, be patient, just wait. And then I had to wait for 10 years for Morten to come and find me in Africa. But here we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
This is a really crazy story. Yeah, and also a band that would never work if it didn't have like a clear Christian purpose. I mean, we're all like family dads. There's just no way my wife would let me travel to Africa 3 times a year to do music if it wasn't for the Lord.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also, if it works like this, it also feels like pieces of the puzzle coming together. I mean, I remember, like you just explained, when you called me, and I was like, I never met you before. How will it work? So we already shared some thoughts and our hearts in a video call like we do now. So we got to know each other a little bit. But then you meet in real life, and it felt already as if we know each other for a while.
Awesome.
And then it was just 2 days in a rehearsal room, and then we hit the road already. So
Yeah.
I've never had that experience before, and it worked so well. And the only reason for that to work out is, well, God putting this plan together far beyond our own sight. And that's also what Jonas just explained. We just see our own circle around us, but we don't see the bigger picture. And if only we get on the path that has been prepared for our own life, and we follow that path, then you will experience that everything will fall into its place. And
Wow.
that's the experience I had with these guys, and it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. So there is a certain, really, I would almost say, quality to a lot of the music that I've been hearing from the Netherlands, from Denmark, and just from Europe in general, that almost doesn't exist in American music. And it may be because of just the classical influences. It might be because of the pipe organs. It might be because of, just whatever else. But I know that I've heard a lot of American bands try to imitate that sound. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think that a band like Theocracy does a good job at, you know, maybe emulating and imitating and paying homage to that particular sound, that Swedish, just
I
all that
don't know how well. I've seen them a few times. Yeah, they're great.
yeah,
Yeah. I like
yeah,
them.
they're really cool. So yeah, death metal is your like almost chosen path to go down for this. So what kind of bands influenced you all when it comes to like death metal and you know and just extreme metal in general? I can't just say death metal. I'll say extreme metal.
Yeah, growing up in Denmark, I mean, Sweden is our close neighbor. We're all part of Scandinavia, so we don't even need like passports. It's more like 3 different states somehow. Our
Yeah.
languages are really similar as well. And we're so tiny countries, so we somehow work a lot together. And it's just a few hours away, the Gothenburg sound, where you have like In Flames, and you have the whole Gothenburg, the melodic and Soilwork, and all these bands. They come from that same little, pretty small city. So obviously we're very influenced by that, because that's also there's a lot of that running into Denmark as well. The Danish death metal scene is definitely influenced by that. But I mean, personally, I grew up more listening to I was just at the end of more like classic metal. I listened a lot to Decay and then I mentioned into X Toll from Norway.
Yeah, of course.
And all these melodic bands, and then I had all the my youth in like more metalcore.
Okay.
So it's all like one really big part of mixed together with melody and rhythm. I always liked both, like you said, Mouse. Yeah, I always like playing around with time changes and shifting, and also shifting
Yeah.
forth and back between really quiet parts and really heavy parts and more melodic builds. I mean, I think personally, my 20 years playing in classical orchestras, like the brass band, but I also played the trumpet in like musical music and stuff. I think all these harmonies and sitting in just in like more an orchestral setting definitely worked some of that melody into me as well in these compositions. And yeah, so that's just me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
would
me,
like
I mean, my influence is from much later. I'm the band baby. I'm the youngest one, so
It's 10 years younger.
I'm 10 years younger than the other guys. So yeah, I mean, I grew up with, where Norma Jean and was
Okay.
peaking. Chariot had just formed,
Yeah.
those kind of things. So I was into all this chaotic stuff. So for me, it was not about melody. It was just energy, and chaos. That was like kind of what drove me, and I loved it. I mean, the more chaos, the better. So for
I
me,
asked, do you remember a band called Ludacris?
Yeah.
yes, even Ludacris before, even before,
So I
yeah.
was a band before Norma Jean, so I booked
I
them.
know.
I booked that tour, their last tour before they changed their name and he released that Norma Jean album.
Oh, amazing. They said
Awesome,
that.
man. I still
They
have
said
the
to my
songs. I
house.
have everything. But that's kind of where I started
Yeah.
getting into this. I mean, I remember when they came to Aarhus, Morten, they actually ended up staying at your place. I remember after
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
But that was they came to Aarhus to play, and I was a teenager at that point, and I just told my parents I'm going to visit some friends, and then we took the train and we drove up there instead, and came home in the middle of the night, and my parents were angry, and I said no, but it was a Christian band, so it's okay. Then my mom was like, all right, okay, it's fine.
Nice. Love it.
But that's what I grew up with. So for me, like this style we're playing now is, for me, completely different from what I would normally play. But it is closer to what I would normally listen to, because I figured out there's a difference between what I like playing and what I like listening to. And when I go to church, and the music and the songs I kind of, like to listen to, it's a lot more melodic, I realized. I don't need the chaos because it's a different mindset. I'm there for a different purpose. So it really makes sense for me to now kind of change that mindset. And for me, I suddenly start like feeling I understand what my granddad and all these other people were trying to do with the organs and the melodies and stuff. I don't know how to play because I play drums, so I don't think about the melodies. That's Morten's job. But but at the end of the day, I start understanding it now, and I can start feeling it. So for me, it's kind of also a homage to them, and it's really great.
But,
I really
but
enjoy it.
I see that as a positive because you have, all three of you and the bass players, your different influences that you do bring into this band to make it what it is. If you all listen to the same thing, it probably wouldn't be the same sound that it is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have anything to add, Maurice?
Well, I just can confirm that's what I also explained a little bit earlier in this interview, that especially within worship teams or worship music, you get different influences. And I would like to add to what Jay just said about music and theocracy trying to get into the same area as the melodic bands here. I see differently. I think I do understand what you're saying, but I think it's an American way of approaching the style. I mean, it's a thing with metalcore coming from the US and metalcore coming from Europe. It's also different, and
Well, yeah.
it's different approach. And I think they are unique and authentic in its own way.
Oh yeah, we love them. I've seen them. Well, I've seen them once. I think Jimmy's seen them. How many times have you seen Theocracy at this point?
I've only seen them once. They're
Okay, so we
actually
both seen them once. They were great. We saw
yeah.
them together then.
They're from Georgia, which is a neighboring state to me. But they're more well known. They play more in Europe than they do here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was saying that Theocracy is actually one of the bands that's more accepted as far as their
Yes.
style. Like people like they're a lot. They sound more authentic than a lot of the bands that try to do the style. To me, anyway. Like from what I've heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the one of the reasons that Europe is or they can easily play in Europe is that we have a lot of melodic bands over here as well. I mean, we just mentioned black metal in Norway, which is true, of course, but when I speak for the Netherlands, we had bands like Within Temptation, and the singer for Nightwish,
Yeah.
Floor, is Dutch. So we have a lot of. That influenced me as well, because we have bands like Epica, which is a
Yeah. I'm
brutal
familiar
death
with Epic.
metal with a lot of symphonies, and
Yes.
that's what I like. It's very bombastic, and that's the style I like. And maybe that's different in the US. I'm not sure, but I can imagine you get always influenced by the bands you grew up in between.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Of course,
Yeah.
Dream Theater's from here, so when it comes to secular bands, they're like, they're definitely one of the top when it comes to progressive metal and symphonic stuff elements.
Yeah, yeah, I like it.
Well, so one of the bands I saw talking about power metal and all, I saw Inner Siege. Are y'all familiar with them?
Yeah.
So do you know Joe Cole or Raven?
not-
Raven.
Raven, yeah, Raven
Yeah.
is a
Raven,
good
yeah.
is a good friend. He's actually
He's a good friend of ours.
brother-in-law of our. He's
He-
a brother-in-law to our other guitar player, Andreas.
Oh, that's awesome. He was up there, and I don't remember if somebody was like, "Hey, do you know who that is?" I'm like, "I don't know. He looks familiar," and they're like, "He's from Wedding Party." I'm like, "No way! I remember
yeah,
Wedding
yeah,
Party."
yeah. And our bass player worked together with him for 15
Oh,
years,
that's so
chopping down
cool.
trees.
I was like, and then I looked up all the music that he's been involved in. I was like, okay, he's a legend,
Oh, yeah,
A Hill to Die Upon, and like he was
And Hills
incredible.
Up, man. I went touring with them with another band, Solace for Day. I had with Andreas Larsen, our guitarist. So we actually
Wow.
went touring with them in the States as well. Hills to Die Upon, and we
Yeah,
played Cornerstone Festival and those different things back
well,
then.
that's amazing.
But it's funny how it's a small community, small world.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
so we'll start with Maurice and tell us like, what do you do in the band, and then what are your musical influences, just generally?
Are we talking about At the Mountain?
Yes.
Yeah, just be sure,
Well,
not the
you're
other 22 bands.
yeah. Now, what do you do in At the Mountain, and then who are your musical influences overall for what you do?
Yeah. Okay. Well, in At the Mountain, I'm just added to the two guitarists that's already there. That's Morten and Andreas. And so that's guitar then. My influence is mainly, I explained before, the Bay Area and the new British wave of heavy metal. So that's Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Saxon also. I like those guys as well. And then from the thrash scene, it's mainly West Coast Metallica, of course, but Anthrax also. I really like the
Yeah.
tightness of the first albums, and sometimes I found them a little bit too punk, but I think the guitar sound and drum sound really impacted me. And then there's also Nuclear Assault. I like those bands.
Yeah.
And that's the band. Those are the bands I grew up with. And my friend, as I explained before, he listened to Slayer, Creator. So I knew those bands, but they were beyond some boundary I set for myself. So I didn't listen to those bands myself. But he was playing those albums when I was at his place, so I knew the songs a bit.
So how many instruments do you actually play?
Well, I played drums up to 15 years ago in church. so that's not metal at all. I did have my double pedal, but I used it just for fills. Otherwise, people would beat me up.
Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Double pedal
And
Jesus pedal.
I also played guitar at our youth group. And well, for Dutch terms, it was a quite big church, like 1,000 people. So our youth group, was starting at about 30 people and went to 100. And when we were that big, with one acoustic guitar, I couldn't support the whole group anymore. We went to a whole band, and so I switched to drums. I couldn't play distortion guitar in a service anyway, so I kept that out of church, and they really didn't support my vision. That's also interesting. That's for a different interview.
No, that makes sense. All right, and Jonas?
Oh yeah, I already touched on it a little bit. My influence is definitely more from the chaotic part. So that's where those bands. I mean, that's what I really liked. The chaos. There are some from the early metalcore kind of bands. Killswitch Engage, those kind of guys. I really like those. Still love it. But if I was to look at my earliest influences, it would actually be from post-rock. So, like Sigur Rós and Explosions in the Skies and, these kind of post-rock bands. In Denmark, there was a big wave that around that time in the late 90s, early millennial, where that was like a big thing. And I was really into that, and I still am. I still love that sound, because there's so much emotion in the music. There's so much atmosphere. Sometimes it's you can feel the atmosphere so thick. You have to like cut it with a knife to see through it. I mean, it really builds up so much noise that it just cancels out and pushes away everything else, and you're just in that noise. And I really like that feeling.
That's one of my favorite bands from that era is Blindside. I mean, I know it's not exactly the same, but I don't know. Just so when you're describing that, that's the band that comes to mind.
But
what are you doing?
I booked Blindside to come and play in Denmark as well. So we did shows.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I love Blindside. Awesome guys.
To see them. They were supposed to come to Furnace Fest a couple years ago, and they didn't get their passports in time.
Yeah, that whole situation has always been.
Yeah.
Well, lately it's been crazy. I hate it.
Yeah.
But actually, the funny thing is, my whole inspiration, or my first influence, which was like the post rock. That's actually how I met Morten the very first time. But that time we never spoke. But that's the first time I saw him, because he was actually playing the trumpet in a band called Lampshade that did post rock.
You said, "Hey, I was in a metal band."
Yeah, so this post-rock thing is like if you think black metal mixed with like just really slow rock, just compounding and building up like forever with so much chorus and so much delay and stuff.
This
and then
is kind of Mantric,
kind of like Mantric, and I think it developed in Iceland. So there's Sigur Rós, there's Mogwai, there's Explosions in the Sky, and these are really old bands, and they never grew out of Northern Europe. I think they just stayed up in Iceland and played a few gigs. But they're really, really weird bands that just keep building up like a momentum for like 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden you can't hear the music anymore. It's just too much noise, and then it's the next track.
It's just noise. It's energy. It's like you feel. It's like right before a thunderstorm, you can feel that all the static energy in the air. It just builds up that tension. I mean, it's amazing. I love it.
I was invited it was a Danish group that played a lot, and they got accepted in the radio, and they played a lot of shows. So they asked me to be like a live member. So I played with them in many, many shows for a few years, and I played the trumpet, and that's how I met Jonas. So I was just putting trumpet layers on top of all that noise.
That's
and then I met Jonas, and we started like very inspired by Ludacris and Norma Jean. We started like a very chaotic act in the vein of that, probably with more melody and more mellow stuff weaved in here and there in between. But yeah, that's
Were those music CDs, were they carried in your local stores at the time?
No, I found them online. I bought them. What was it called? I bought like once every year. I'll buy like a huge bunch of CDs from the
Sure.
US and just buy all that I could get my hands on, and then I get like 30, 40 CDs that I found secondhand. So they were super cheap. Somebody just selling a whole collection, and I'll
Yeah,
buy it
yeah.
and just skip
Nice.
through it and see
Yeah.
if anything was interesting.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I was listening a lot to the whole Norwegian scene because that was our next door neighbor. And I actually, as a teenager, when I gave my life to Christ, I already was very much in love with hard music like X-Tall and Decay and those old records and Deliverance and Modification, that early stuff.
Okay.
And I moved to Copenhagen because that was just the major city here. I thought there would be more musicians, but I couldn't find a soul that wanted to play hard music. So I moved to Oslo in Norway because there's a ton of metal bands. And I started going to the same, I looked at the church that X-Tall went to, and Self-Minded and Soapbox and Blindside and all these guys. Blindside was in the next country, but they would often come over, and they were all in this community. So I tapped into that, and that's how I got familiar with the more extreme black metal and all that kind of stuff. And then that really, really grew in me for several years.
You moved.
I moved after the music because I told the Lord that I would use all my music talents for Him, and I wanted to do hard music. So I needed to find somebody to play with. I could find them in Denmark.
Yeah.
So I moved to Norway, but then eventually some friend back in Copenhagen called me, and he said, "I found this dude who can scream, he can yell, he can do like extreme vocals." And then he found another dude who could play fast on the drums. Like, all right, I'm coming home. So I moved back to Copenhagen.
So
and started the first Christian metal band.
What do you play? What instruments do you play? And also, Jonas, what do you play as well?
Yeah, I play the guitar and also the trumpet and a bit of keys. So I also lay the harmonies in behind the music. And
nice. Okay.
Yeah, I do drums. I play drums.
All right, cool, awesome.
Funny thing, actually, when we started the band and when Morten came down and he was like, okay, we went out to this guy, Terry, the bass player, the American guy that moved to Kenya, and we were like, okay, let's start a band. I mean, I had not touched a drum kit in 10 years. I didn't even have a drum kit. So it's like, let's start a band. We're like, cool, I don't have any drums. And funny enough, this guy, Terry, he was like, oh, God told me just to buy a drum kit. So I put it in a container and it's sitting in my backyard. It's like, what? He's like, yeah, I bought a full drum kit. So he had a whole drum kit sitting in his backyard. He doesn't play drums, but the guy just told him, buy a drum kit. Okay,
Terry moved to Kenya and brought like a whole music store. I mean, like 7 guitars, a full mixer, like 4 or 5 bass amps, 4 or 5 guitar amps, and 4 or 5 electric guitars, probably 30 guitar pedals, and everything you can think of, every single cable there is. He probably thought he couldn't find any of it in Kenya, and I think he's right to some extent, but he had all that. Like half of the 40-foot container he brought was just
ready to open his own guitar center, So
yeah, he drove his 2 Jeeps in and then just started filling musical instruments in between everything. And so he had all of that down there when we met him. It was like, all right, let's get hooked up and jam,
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have a question, especially for Morten with your guitar playing and stuff. And I think about Extol and the fact that they're among the influences that they have is jazz music.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, I think about, like, most of my favorite trumpet players are jazz trumpet players. So I don't know, do you have any jazz influences at all? Or
yeah, I played a lot of old jazz as well as on my trumpet. And also when I grew up in school, like as a little kid, I was invited with a few of the teachers there they needed a trumpet player for the little jazz thing for some of the Christmas parties. And so I would play like jazz,
yeah,
and I'd do some old, just doing trumpet solos and started improvising and stuff. So that was definitely also part of my upbringing. And my, I also grew up with a really cool grandpa who listened to Elvis Presley and a lot of really cool old stuff. He'd bring out this record collection and get me into that as well. So really broad variety of stuff, but definitely some jazz as well, and a lot of classical music, and also like I said, music, like all of it, and playing in orchestras. That I always enjoyed classical music, but I didn't listen much to it, but I played it a lot for thousands of hours. But back home, I'll always put the metal on and listen
Yeah,
to
yeah, of course.
as extreme as I could get my hands on in the 90s. So the first time I heard growling, I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man!" And then I started digging into the really, really, really extreme Norwegian music, and I dialed it back a little bit. But yeah,
Especially the dialing back, that has actually been one of the difficult things, and some of the things we had to be super aware of in our songwriting process, because like Maurice, like you said, it's very important that people can sing along, because this is
yeah,
worship.
we felt the same way. Yeah,
We're not a band that's there to play concerts and look like rock stars and do the most technical stuff. No, we are there to lead people in worship, and we're there to catch those people where the normal worship played in church does not appeal to them. So we're there to catch those who are outside the church, who now want to get back into church and worship in this way. And it means it has to be, you need to be able to sing along. I mean, if you can't, if it's growling, screaming the whole time, you can't. I mean, you cannot sing along. So
and if it's too
we
high
have
pitched,
actually,
you also can't sing along. So we try to, if we do some really high pitched, Terry can do that. Then we make it very easy to just take the lower octave, and also put that in there so people can tag along and they can sing
That's
to it.
awesome. I love how well thought out it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Thanks.
well, awesome. Jonas, we'll start with you. We just got a few questions left here. So tell us one thing about you that people watching this might not know. Do you have a special talent or
okay, one thing people might not know, I
hobby?
was arrested by the police in a bank.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear this.
This is a good story.
No, what happened was, I was not 18 years old yet. I started this whole thing about setting up music concerts and doing things. I started booking shows for Barricades, the band that Morten was in, and so on. So I tried to apply to the tax authorities and get my business permit, but because I was below 18, they refused. I wrote to now the Queen of Denmark. She also refused. I got a letter back. My parents got the letter and said, no, they refused. I cannot start a business because I'm not 18. All right, fine. So I went ahead and did the business anyway and just put up the shows. And now I got all this cash from the show, from the tickets and everything. So I was like, okay, I went to my bank and said, I want to deposit all this money. And then at that time I had, long dreadlocks, down to my butt. I
Had to be a criminal then.
I had piercings too. I had snake bites with 2 piercings and
yeah.
the whole thing. So they looked at me and I came with like this big, backpack full of cash and said, I want to deposit. So first thing was like, they told me sit in this room, and then they called the police. So that now my parents had to explain to the police that no, this is actually true. It's money I earned. It was a Christian church event, and
Yeah.
That is
Amazing.
That's awesome.
so that was kind of my entrance into the Christian metal scene.
Yeah. Do it and do it right. Go big or go home. That's awesome. Maurice?
Well, I was about to say that almost no one knows that I like folk music, Irish and Scottish folk music. I listen to that too. But then I heard Jonas' story, and I was like, I've got such a story as well. We went
Tell it.
Yeah, we went with a band to Israel, and on the way back at the airport at Tel Aviv, one of the guys made fun of me. So I was like, okay, I'll get you back. So I yelled at the airport, okay, you go first in the line. And just because I raised my voice, the soldiers, we were at customs, and not really customs, I mean, where they check your passport, and there were young girls doing that, the checks. But behind them, there was a soldier with an Uzi. And they got nervous because I was yelling. So they looked around and they said, you, and they picked us all out, and they took us away from the line in a special room, all separated. And they were questioning us for 3 hours.
no.
And they weren't asking me questions about myself, but about my mates Who is he married to? How much children does he have? What kind of work does he do? And it was really intimidating, I can tell you. Then those girls, they started talking about the interviews, and they switched. So I get another girl asking the same questions. And if you would give the wrong answer or a different answer, you were in big problems. So I learned my lesson. Never do that again. They even torn apart my guitar. They
No,
met the camera, and they took out the electronics of the guitar. I can
they
just
they thought
please
you
stop.
were they thought you
Look,
were hiding drugs in there, didn't they? Well,
no, I think
that's how you learn the hard way, right?
yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
play.
And I think, well, when looking back at it, I mean, it's an area where people are very tight, to say so, and they are really on their guards, and you shouldn't make them nervous. And just think about it. This was in '95, and it was
Oh,
one of the most peaceful times to go to Israel. You can't do it nowadays anymore. What we experienced.
Right, man.
That's my
yeah.
story then.
That's awesome. Well, you said folk music, but when you said Ireland, it reminded me of a band. Have you heard of the band The Electrics? Have you ever heard of them? They
No,
were they were a rock band, but they had very heavy, uh, I guess Irish influence.
it's
Yeah,
something like
they were
Fiona.
very good. So they're actually from the band was from Scotland, but the singer was from Ireland.
Ah,
I've kind of followed his career, the singers. The band's no longer together. They put out maybe 2 albums. But he does he has his own solo music, and it's really good. I'll have to send it to you, man.
yeah,
It's really
just
good.
please do so. I'm interested.
Have you ever seen the band Flatfoot 56? You know, the
Yes.
punk.
I know
I
about
haven't
them. Yeah, I
seen them,
haven't
but I'm
seen them.
definitely familiar with them. Yes.
It's
I
a
mean,
lot of fun.
that one is hilarious. I mean, I love it. I've seen them so many times. We were at Cornerstone one time, and they literally made like the Battle of Alamo, and what happened was, they had, Circle of Death, and eventually it broke the mast inside the tent, so the whole tent fell down, so everybody had to be evacuated, and the show was over. I mean,
Wow.
those guys, they're extreme.
I wonder, where is that band from? Were they an American band?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they're American,
yeah.
but they just have the Scottish sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So
Yeah.
that, the bagpipes, those
Yeah.
bagpipes, and the whole
I
thing.
have one of their albums, but I never did get to see them live.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I've seen them live a couple of times. It's a lot of fun.
Very nice.
and
Very
also
nice.
the chord progressions they use, they are very similar to metal music. That's why it's very easy to incorporate that kind of music into metal tunes. That's what I like. Like, well, it's something like Lord of the Dance, River Dance, People will start laughing about this when I tell this, but I like it because it's very uplifting, and I like the chord progressions. Then also, like with the church song I talked earlier about, I hear guitar sounds when they play it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
I think there's quite a few Norwegian bands that mix these two genres, like folk music and metal, like folk metal type
yeah,
thing, where
absolutely.
you'd go like more like Viking metal type thing,
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is, what is the band called? Forgot the name. They also use the paint. But then there's also Elevatie, or I don't know how to pronounce it in English. Elevatie. That's also, I
I'm
think
not sure.
it's also a known band. And I forgot the other name. But
No.
there are quite a few, yes.
They're the one that comes to mind is the Who. It's HU. They're a Mongolian
I
band,
love them. Yes,
Yeah.
the Mongolian
and
bands.
they mix it so well. Yeah.
Did you see the one they did together with the lead singer from Papa Roach? They did a song together with him,
Uh-huh.
The Brethren Call, where they mixed now like American, the American rock, and now this Mongolian acoustic metal vibe. I mean, it's amazing.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also another one just thought of, we could talk music all day, but Apocalyptica, have y'all ever seen them?
Well, yeah, I haven't seen them, but I listened to them a lot. I
Yeah,
really,
I've
really
seen
love
them
what they did.
once, probably like 15 years ago. They're an
amazing.
amazing show.
They're from the States?
No, they're from
No,
Finland.
Finland, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember when their first album came out, like plays Metallica on four
Yeah,
cello.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, this is
Oh, that's
interesting.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, that's good.
I
All right.
like
Yeah,
the
that was
song. They also released a song with Dave Lombardo from Slayer on drums. I
yes,
like
they
that
did.
song.
That
Oh, it
was
was
amazing.
amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all their albums for sure.
Yeah, so
Nice.
good.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, I guess we'll let Morten go now.
All right,
Okay,
I
let's
got
hear
a
both.
really
What is
dumb
your
story.
embarrassing story?
So
Right,
now I
right.
know, like, along which lines we're going. So I have a really embarrassing dumb story that very few people know, and it'll give you a good laugh. So I think 20 years ago, I was going to this town in Denmark because they had this African preacher actually coming by that would pray for healing for people, so people get healed in big numbers. So I thought that was super interesting because I didn't grow up in a charismatic or Pentecost church. Most of the the Bible Belt are more conservative. So I wanted to go and see what that was, if that was for real. So I hitchhiked over there and I just caught a ride and I ended up getting there like way early. So I came like 2-3 hours before the whole thing. So I just went to the church. I had the address and I took the door handle and it was open, but there was nobody in the church. It was just a really old church building. So I went in. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna sit here for 2-3 hours, do nothing. And it was super cold and I didn't bring my jacket in. So I was just freezing and they didn't turn the heat on yet because it was so early in the day. So Jonas, you know this story. So what I did, so I went to the restroom and then I saw there was there was a shower installed. So I thought, well, I'm gonna take a nice warm shower just to get warm because I was super cold just standing out there hitchhiking in the streets. So, so I took a shower, and since there was nobody there, I like really warm, long showers. I stood there for a really long time, probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes, because there was nobody there. So I thought, well, who cares? I'm just in this old church. And then all of a sudden, there's this old lady knocking on the door. Is there anybody in here? Tuk, tuk, tuk. Anybody in? I was like, oh yeah, I'm just came for this thing for tonight. I'll get out soon. So I turned off the water, and then I noticed the water they hadn't really installed the shower yet. They just put this on the
Oh,
wall.
no.
So the water is just, flowing out into the church. So it flooded the whole church. And it was with an old thick carpet, and there was just like standing water in the church. A few hours before, they had everybody coming to church to see this big preacher. And she's like, who are you? Like,
That's
I'm
awesome.
nobody, I just thought I'd get into a church and take a shower. Like, what?
Whoa.
So all my clothes I left on the floor. So obviously that was totally soaked. So very humiliating. I just put that bag on as fast as I could, getting out to this old lady who was there early to make coffee for everybody. And try to explain myself. There's just no way I could explain why I flooded the whole church. So the church was just wet floors, and I was just sitting there completely soaked the whole night. Everybody knew it was me, and nobody had a clue who I was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's only a few people know that.
Now everybody knows.
Now everybody, yes, exactly. The whole world knows. Yeah. So my next question is, what is your favorite thing about being a Christian? And that's for all of you.
Well, that's a really good question. How long time do we got?
I can go first then. For me, my favorite thing about being a Christian is, to have that firm anchor or foundation, like I'm living here in Kenya in Africa, and with everything here, I mean, everything is chaos, or not everything, but a lot of things are chaotic. Things changes very rapidly. I mean, you don't have authorities necessarily that you can trust, and there's just a lot of chaos. So having that firm foundation, somebody is looking out for you, that gives you peace, at least in my mind. And that's not even talk about, what happens after death, with our eternal lives, because I don't know what that's going to look like. But it's what it gives me right here, right now, while I'm on this earth. I mean, it gives me that firm anchor and that peace. On top of that, it also gives me a moral codex to abide by that kind of also guides me. Because I see here, especially like with corruption, all these different things going on here. I mean, having this kind of moral codex that is predefined, it actually just takes a lot of things out of your mind and say, okay, I just have to follow what the scripture says. And so a lot of all these other bad decisions where people have to kind of make up their own moral codex, here the Bible actually gives me a moral codex I just need to follow. So the rules are defined. It's easy. So it becomes easy to navigate in chaos. So that's what it gives to me right here, right now. But then on top of that, what I now see is also when I do that and follow that, God also do amazing things. So suddenly I start seeing gifts coming. Like Morten said, we used to play together before and we've been good friends for a long time, but 10 years we were apart, but suddenly God just brings us back together and tells us, now, start again. And to suddenly get that friendship and those kind of things up and running, and I mean, that's just a gift. It's a blessing that he's giving me that I didn't even know I needed, but now it's there. He gave me music back. He gave me all these things back that I had actually given up. When I moved to Kenya, I gave up on music and said, I cannot move these things down here. I actually sold my drum kit, everything, and moved here.
Wow.
So I feel that even as much as I know that our beliefs and our faith is also based with a long-term focus on eternity, but even right here, right now, it really gives me a lot as a person, both in my day-to-day life, in terms of work, business, but also now I feel he's just blessing me with things, relations like, Maurice, Morten, and I mean, it's just amazing. So I get a lot from it. I actually feel I get a lot from God and from my faith already now, even here on earth in this life. Yeah. So I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Wait, so how did you pronounce his name? You've been telling me I've been pronouncing your name wrong all this time, and you didn't correct me.
Oh, he's Maurice, but I call him Mouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my
I wanted to
nickname.
make sure.
Yeah, that's it.
It
That's a
is
nickname
Maurice.
I
Okay.
already. Yeah, everyone starts calling me Mouse when I was or a teenage already, so I
Okay.
understood it.
All right. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I recognize what Jonas said, and I think that that's spot on. And I'd like to add to it that you used the word anchor. I was about to say the word hope, and when I say hope, I'm not talking about the hope as it is written out in a dictionary. I mean, hope, as the Bible explains it, is not hoping it will become true, but knowing it is already there. And that's a completely different kind of hope. And to me personally, with the life events I've been through in my life, this is so important. And I think the time we live in now even makes, for me personally, my faith even more important. I mean, I hear people speaking out of fear in my area about maybe a war in Europe and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yes, I do understand. And of course, I don't want that either. But I also think about, but I feel in my heart, like Jesus said, I've overcome the world. Don't be
Yes.
afraid.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, the one of the key things I can grab onto in these days, not to be feared. And I have to admit, I'm also a human, so I have better days and some worse days, of course. But I know that this is a hope, a certainty. And I think if you think about this, you can say it defines who you are, because going along in this way of thinking, you discover that you need to look at yourself the way God looks at you, and not how people or yourself look at yourself. And that's what I learned in these days, that he's thinking bigger of me than I do myself. And not because I'm that great, but because he is that loving and has provided everything I don't even know of yet.
Wow. Well said.
Love it.
All
Love
right,
it.
Morten.
Yeah. So, I get so much joy out of being a Christian and being with Jesus. As you say, now I'm in my mid-40s. In my 30s, I had some years away from the Lord, and those just kind of lost years. And when the Lord led me back, guided me back, I mean, finding that hope again from years in what I would call just raw meaninglessness, when you had meaning once and then you cast it out. And for a while, for some years, I didn't really believe that God existed or anything existed beyond, the physical world. And it was you can say more of a philosophical crisis or whatever. But I bought in on that worldview that God wasn't anywhere. And after getting back to faith, it's just been so good to get that meaning back into my life. That's a rock foundation, and just that everything has meaning and everything is meant to be, and we are meant to be, and we're meant to be with the Lord and with Christ and spend eternity with Him, and that whole moral foundation. And just, whenever things are stormy or chaotic, you can just lean back on the couch and know, well, all is well with my soul, and that firm belief is just so ingrained into me now that I just lately, over the last years, been enjoying so much spending more and more time with the Lord. It's good. I'm totally in love with
love to
that.
hear that. That's so good.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, At the Mountain is a Christian band, right? Okay.
For sure. It's a worship band, man.
We're worship band. That's right. Man, we really appreciate y'all's time jumping on
Absolutely.
here. So what can the Christian metal community do to help support? Well, I mean, so Maurice, you got Medal of Honor, Grave Declaration, and Receiving Immortality, but what can we do to help to support your projects and At the Mountain Worship Band?
Yeah, let me first start saying that it's not a Grave Declaration. I think a Norwegian band.
Yeah,
It's
great.
yeah. Well, for the Medal of Honor project, I started a GoFundMe project. Just to be able to hire the vocalist. And that would help me because that's the only part I can do myself. And I feel so blessed to work with different kind of singers. So yeah, that would help. And yeah, for At the Mountain, I think Jonas or Morten can answer that.
I think for the mountain is definitely pray and pray.
Very well.
I know
said.
it sounds kind of shallow because the thoughts and prayers. It sounds those Instagram kind of things. It sounds kind of shallow and empty, but no, we're actually quite serious about that. No, pray. We have seen the works and the miracles through prayer. And one of our mantras is always, pray first. So in any decision or before anything we do, pray first. See God's guidance, and we always ask for Him to also show us what is the next step, because we kind of feel like we are not in control of this project. We're not in control of this band. That's Him. It's Him who told us to do it. We just, responded to His call. But that means He's the boss of this project. Okay, fine. He's the one to show us the next thing. And sometimes we cannot see one step ahead. I mean, sometimes we don't know what to do next month or what is the next thing to do. And we get that clarity through prayer. And sometimes people tell us, or we get it through prayer, or we can start seeing where to go. So yes, it's definitely led by prayer. So pray first. So we would like people to pray. We have actually prayer group as well that sits and pray for us, where we send out.
If anybody wants to, in a more structured way, get insights from us on what specifically to pray for, we have a WhatsApp group. I know it's not a big thing in the States, but it just
actually,
works everywhere.
It is pretty big. A lot of people use it here.
Okay. We got Pastor. We needed to convince Pastor Bob to download it.
Yeah. He's on Signal though too. That's
So if anybody wants in on that and
how do we
to pray
join
for
it?
specific, so if you want to be part of that WhatsApp group, just reach out to us on the atthemountain.org. If you send an email, it'll go to Jonas and I. And of course, there's also not a GoFundMe, there's a Buy Me a Coffee or whatever. There's also a way on the website to
Sure.
support us financially, because there's quite a lot of travel involved with this project since we're based in different continents and stuff. But I mean, so far the Lord has been very, very graciously provided for everything. And so, but yeah, definitely prayer. And yeah,
Yeah,
if
I was
anybody
mid-
wants us to come play, just let us know. We want to play as many shows as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great to see y'all in the States. Oh my God.
We'll definitely come. Yeah.
Oh
We'll
my
come.
God, that's
Sure.
great. I'll be there. I don't care
Yeah,
where.
that's right.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, man.
We will do our
Appreciate it.
best to be there. Well, man, this has been
Thank you so
great. I
much.
appreciate it. God bless you, and I hope y'all have a great day.
Right.
Thank you so
Let's-
much for having us on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank